This is the LLS podcast, the legendary Levi and Sam podcast, which I'll be entitling it now.
Okay.
Almost like LSS,
News to
but
me.
we're a lot cooler.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some news.
Okay.
So, we got some exciting things going on. New Bonds is back. I was going to say new Bonds list. Basically is already the Bonds list, but new bans and restricted stuff. We got Living Legend Studio stuff. Wait, Living Legend Studio. Oh my gosh. Living Legend stuff going on. We got high C spoilers. There's a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. So where do you want to start with? You want to start with the bans and stuff?
Yeah, let's go with the BNR.
What do you think of the BNR?
Good riddance to CYB.
Yes, rest in peace, but I hope you don't have any peace. I hope you die and are very agitated and suffer.
I thought the card was fun to play with. It was fine to play against, but I also am weird and enjoyed a lot of decks that people hated. So I understand that people didn't like it, and it was also just unhealthy at the casual level. So it's better for the game that it's gone.
I think that it was a fine inclusion for a period of time of the game. I think it added a decent amount of flexibility for people who wanted to play more hyper-defensive lists. Obviously, like the Slapdash deck, I thought it was pretty interesting. But it did create very unfun gaming experiences, I feel like. It also, as a player who was trying to play mid-range or pitch stack or enjoy having a second cycle, it really just kind of eliminated that whole aspect, it felt like. And so I like what they had wrote in the BNR as well, where they kind of made good points about what they learned from it and how it does have interesting play, but a lot of times it can just be frustrating to play against. So very glad that's gone. Very glad Scepter of Pain is banned. In addition, kind of like Krakens, I'm really glad that took that option away from Florian. Already being such a powerful deck, it really felt unnecessary to have that kind of option.
Yeah.
Germinate was interesting. I mean, little spoiler for the next set, right?
Yeah, so yeah, it wasn't on my radar as a card that needed to go, but obviously with the upcoming set, there's going to be something that would have worked well with Germinate. So
I mean, they have more info than we do at this point, but it was as they put it, redundant end game state where it literally just got to like, well, if I have to take 3 cards from your hand, you're just going to pitch a blue and hit me, and if you keep any more cards, you'll just Germinate and then I'll die. So created also a very redundant, unfun gaming experience, it felt like, against Florian. So I'm glad that card is gone. Florian, as we've been seeing, has been performing insanely well. As soon as Aurora is gone, Flesh and Runeblade still takes over, and Florian has been dominating the whole ProQuest season beyond as well. So no surprise there, really. But the other one that I don't really think this is much of a surprise, I think it would have been weirder if they didn't do it, was getting Bonds back as a red to get 3 copies again. I had been saying this for months that like Katsu really needed that card back, and with Zen gone, I feel like it makes a lot of sense that they'd bring it back.
Yeah, I think it was fair to bring back as soon as Zen left. I was skeptical if they'd actually do it, but they did, so it's good.
And now the deck is going to be from D tier to probably B tier.
Yeah.
I don't think it really elevates the deck that much. I'm going to be testing it. I'll do a deck tech, obviously coming up in like a week or so, because I'm a big Katsu player. I played him a lot. Even but when we lost Bonds, I tried to make it work. And every time I was playtesting the deck with Retrace, I was just like, man, if this deck just had Bonds, it would be playable. It would be really good. The lines would be really good. So now without Art of War, you won't be able to really Bonds loop at all anymore. I see people who are trying to think of doing like Visit the Dojo or whatever.
Yeah, Visit Flying Dojo.
Yeah, which you can then kind of bring your Bonds back into the deck, which I might try that out. That could be an interesting tech, but I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to playing Katsu again, and I really do hope that this allows him to be playable and not too strong, because I don't want it to be broken, but I want him to actually be a deck that can function.
Yeah, I don't think it would be too strong, especially when we're coming out of a meta where we just were dealing with Zen and Aurora for months. I don't think there will be many complaints about Katsu's power level.
Yeah, and you could just block him, and then he can't really do much. So and then you still have to play one of the worst cards in Flesh and Blood, Surging Strike.
I thought you were going to say the Katsu hero token.
No, the Katsu hero token is one of the best hero tokens. He could tutor stuff. But yeah, having to play Surging Strike is extremely outdated. I mean, the fact that you're still playing a 2-for-5 2-plot go again as your main starter and the main card you need for your deck to function is just kind of like sad. I mean, we're pretty outdated when it comes to that kind of level of Flesh and Blood value and playstyle. But we have some more alternate lines now, like Descendant Gustwave I really think takes over a lot more of the starters as we move forward. And then obviously Retrace the Past is just going to open up so many options. And then Underwhelming Gustwave I still don't think is a playable card. I'm not playing it. I think that card still sucks. But we'll see as people develop decks, and we'll talk more about it later on.
Yeah.
But
I think with only 3 bonds, that makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't really do much.
I'd also like to add, it's good that they only brought back 3 bonds. I think 9 could have been problematic.
Oh yeah, you don't want to bring back the loop where it just becomes bonds.deck. So now it's just a tool within Katsu's arsenal where you can have maybe one big explosive turn, but you won't be able to just like do 2 or 3 back to back. So I think it'll be pretty reasonable. Again, I don't really think he's going to be absurd. I think he'll just be playable again, which is all we really wanted in the end. So moving on to Blitz bans. Levi and I are not really big Blitz players, but I do see obviously like Storm Striders from the point where we first started playing this game back in 2022 or whatever. Storm Striders was also a nuisance. 2021,
yeah,
right?
It was 21.
Because Kano was one of the best decks in Blitz even at that point because Storm Striders was broken. So I'm super glad to see them finally kind of move that card out of the way so that...
Well, they banned it for a while.
They did, and then they brought it back.
World San Jose, it was banned, I think. Yeah, and then they brought it back. So it's just overstated its welcome.
Yep, and then CYB being banned as well. Obviously, I think that makes a ton of sense. And then, thank God, hitting Aurora, maybe with what they should have done in CC, banning CLV and Flicker Wisp. So kind of learning from the mistakes of CC, enacting it into Blitz, which I think is very smart, and hopefully will preserve Aurora's time a little bit.
Yeah.
Beyond that, moving into the LL, not Living Legends system, we'll get to that, but the LL format. I thought those bans were actually really, really good. People have been asking me if I've been playing. Levi, I think it's amazing. Levi's a little bit more upset about it.
My only complaint is the Crown of Seeds ban. I think that card is just like so iconic to Flesh and Blood's history, and kind of Starvo as kind of the premier face of Living Legend. That I would prefer them to hit something else. Even if it ends up being a more impactful ban, I think Crown of Seeds is a card that I would like to see stay in the format forever.
I say good riddance. I've played against that card since inception, and it's a nightmare to play against. I'm so glad it's gone. I'm so glad that you don't have to worry about all the free value it gets you, the consistency that it adds to the deck. Maybe Starvo can play a little bit more fair, and we can get heroes that actually have to assemble some stuff a little bit more rather than just kind of cycle through their deck super fast. Because the LL format is already absurdly fast. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have played it at all recently. Prior to the bans, the format was so quick. You really were just playing like a chain, Starvo, aggro, beatdown kind of game strategies. Chain did everything from, as I mentioned in the article, disruption, anti-fatigue, aggro. So I'm super glad they really nerfed him. I'm really hoping that tones him down enough to where other decks can come out to shine. But I am quite worried. We were talking about this. I think Stubby Zen now kind of takes over, and he's just going to kind of destroy the meta at this pace now.
Yeah. I think I like the chain hits as well. It might have been slightly heavy-handed, like it was with Starvo in the past when they hit Starvo too hard, but I think that's fine. It's easier to unban once they see that he isn't performing, or if chain doesn't perform anymore. But yeah, Zen becomes a problem, I think.
Yeah. And Viserai. Although losing Deadwood Dirge down to 1 is a pretty big hit, which I'm also very glad they did that, but Viserai is still going to be very potent. But, you know,
it loses Succumb as well.
Succumb goes down to 1, Deadwood goes down to 1, but you still have Bloodsheath, you still have a lot of OTK strategies, so you still could do the Viserai thing. But we'll see if, like, Briar steps up anymore, if this allows room for Prism. But the biggest question mark is, do you think Icelander now with Hypothermia to 3 actually becomes a playable deck again in LL? As someone who's played a lot of Icelander.
If the Rune Blades are still premier decks, maybe. But if you're trying to deal with Stubby Zen, too much of his go again is natural. I don't think Hypothermia is going to do enough. I think it definitely helps the deck. I'm still skeptical on whether or not it's healthy. Hypothermia at instant speed is not okay.
Yeah, well, it shuts down a lot of other decks.
Like, interaction-wise, I don't think it's great.
Well, you'll kill a lot of other decks in the process. Like, we're talking about the cream of the crop decks right now, and we're not even thinking about the 40 other heroes or whatever that exist in LL that aren't actually able to compete really at all.
Yeah.
And this is also before the new Armory decks that they're going to release later this year for Prism and Viserai, which have specific LL support for them as well. But they said, now that they have digital deck lists, they're going to be able to accrue data a lot faster. We're going to be seeing way more LL integrated into competitive play. Like they had mentioned that it's going to be in Worlds this year.
Yeah.
We don't know specifically what that means. We just assume it's going to be like first Worlds where it's going to be 3 formats, where it's going to be CC, Limited, and Living Legend format. So we'll see how that ends up. But people are going to have to play it. They're going to have to be prepared for it. And they're also going to have to worry about Living Legend Marlin, which is going to be absolute beastly with, as you've mentioned, Endless Arrow, 3 of a Kind, Art of War. It's just going to be pretty absurd.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. But that transitions us into the changes for the Living Legend system, which I think it's been quite contentious from some of the people that I've talked to about it and my own opinions about it. I don't want to come down too hard on it yet just because we still have to wait and see how it's implemented, how LSS will deal with it. But right out the gate, some initial thoughts are it seems to be a little bit of a Band-Aid fix to the problem of the Living Legends system that we've been having. I could see this potentially being a little dangerous for these new decks that come out that are really powerful and they end up staying in the game far longer than their predecessors maybe have stayed in the game, which could be more frustrating if LSS does not implement bans fast enough, which they did mention they are going to be trying to have more frequency in their banning, and then hopefully they will actually enact further bans to help restrain decks a little bit more. Yeah. But then you also have the issue on the other hand where old decks such as like Rhinar or Katsu or Azalea or things like that even worse like Betsy and Olympia, right? These decks that have not really had any time to shine because they haven't been powerful enough. But in the future, maybe in a year, if they get enough support and then they do become playable, what happens to those heroes then? Now you finally get to play your favorite hero, but you're speed running it to the end of its life cycle, right? Where that doesn't really feel good as a player. Maybe that's healthy for the market and for the rotation of the game. But as a player, that feels pretty bad. Yeah. Like, what do you think about the system?
I mean, yeah, speaking on the heroes that have been out for a while getting extra LL points, that would have felt really bad as someone who played Azalea for a long time, waiting, and all of a sudden she's playable, and she's getting LL points at 1.5 speed, while all the other new heroes that are doing just as well, granted, that meta wasn't exactly a bunch of new heroes, but regardless, would be getting half points. That feels kind of like punishing you for being patient, kind of playing a hero for a long time and waiting for your kind of time. And we have a lot of players like that in FAB. FAB has a lot of kind of very dedicated people who are committed to a single deck or hero, even if it's bad. And it kind of feels like it can be a bit of a slap in the face to them. As for the reduced points on the first year, even if they're hitting them with bans, I'm concerned because we saw decks like Enigma, Zen, I mean, even New and Aurora in this past year. All of them, even if they had gotten small bans and reduced half points, we'd be looking at probably like 300 to 400 points each, which is not a lot of points. That's assuming that they had been hit and did slightly worse. So I don't know. I'm very skeptical on that. I feel like the newer heroes are going to stick around a bit too long if they're powerful, and it kind of defeats the point of the Living Legend system that was when a hero is powerful enough for long enough, it leaves. Not a fan. At least on paper right now.
It's like a very hard thing to try to gauge now as we move in because they also have more information about future sets, the future heroes that are coming out, and then in addition to that, their recycling of a hero, like they mentioned, Aurora is going to be coming back again next year already in May or June or whatever. And so how that fits alongside of the cycle, because they actually might want some of these older heroes to rotate out faster so they can create their secondary version of them. Like Rhinar or Katsu, who have been sticking around for so long, they might have Katsu the Found or something, and they want him to come out so they have more design space, but they need the old Katsu to rotate out before they can introduce these things, right? So there's a part of us that's tied to the heroes that we love and the heroes that we care about, and we want to play them. But there could just be future things or future plans that LSS has that have greater designs around the corner that they need to implement. And in order to do so, you kind of have to let the past go in order to move forward. So these are things that obviously we don't know. Only LSS knows. So all we can do is just kind of trust and hope that they're able to adapt and adjust the system accordingly. We have struggled with the Living Legend format and the Living Legend system for some time now, but they both are integral for the future of the game. Especially the Living Legend format is needed. You're going to have to have Living Legend heroes that move into it to encourage people to want to play it, right? So it's a two-way street. In order to keep the CC meta healthy and the Living Legend format healthy, you need to have it rotating through at somewhat of a reasonable pace. So we'll see what happens with that. Initial thoughts are kind of skeptical, but we'll see. We don't have all the information, so LSS ideally knows best about what the future of the game is going to hold. So moving into the future of the game, though, we do have a spoiler week happened last week.
Yeah.
We know a good amount of the cards. We are missing still a lot of the cards that we expect. What are some of your initial thoughts just from seeing the cards that are going to be coming out?
There's a lot of powerful cards. I'm a little nervous as to how powerful it's going to be, but overall I think it's going to be a lot of fun to brew with. I'm mostly focused on Marlin, and I think both the Canon and Death Theater lists look interesting right now. I can dive more into that unless you want to add something.
Nah, okay. I will share my thoughts after.
Yeah, so one thing that I didn't realize until this morning was that for the spoilers on the Canon list, we only have 2 Pirate Ranger cards left, which means there's not going to be quite as many harpoons unless they print generic harpoons, or regular Ranger harpoons, which I don't think they will, which is a little concerning to me. I was expecting more, but we'll see how that pans out. But then in addition to that, we also have a lot more non-Pirate Ranger cards to come. So that'll be interesting as well, because a lot of times in sets, you have your Majestics or all your flashy cards, and then out of nowhere, you have one of those common or rares that ends up being like deck defining that you may not have expected because it's not a Majestic. So we'll have to see where that leads it, but I'm excited to see. We should get it in a few days.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I'm more excited about is all the expansion slot cards prior to other other spoilers, unlike High Seas. We've gotten a lot of the expansion slot cards like right out the gate. They're really holding back this time, so I'm very curious to see what new things come out that are going to potentially help buff the old heroes in this very new meta, because we're moving into a meta where we're pretty much going to lose MST entirely over the next couple months, because presumably new will LL over the course of Nat season. The original Dash is probably going to LL, Azalea is probably going to LL, so we're going to be moving into a very, very new, fresh meta, ideally. Fresh is the keyword there, and hopefully it's a good meta. I have a lot of concerns based on the cards that have been shown. They seem to be extremely powerful, and they seem to implement a lot of gameplay mechanics that I'm not too fond of, such as uninteractable disruption, thought seizing out of people's hands, accruing board states that are non-interactable given certain decks and how their play strategies develop. Obviously, though, we still need to wait and see what all the cards have to be when they're revealed. The mech hero is actually quite interesting to me. Puffin I'm very intrigued about, just because it looks absolutely broken. Like the things that it does look really annoying, super absurd. Having just like a 1 to 3 damage buff range at any will that you want to make your opponent's blocking really bad. These insane on hits, like the one that destroys equipment or just any blocking card and it forces equipment to be blocked into it is ridiculous. Stealing all of your opponent's gold or however much damage it's dealt to Jolly Roger.
Yeah, it takes all their items.
Yeah, ridiculous. So the mech hero seems really interesting to me. I'm not a mech player, but just seeing the disruption and what it offers, I'm quite intrigued by that. And then Gravy Bones, the fan favorite. I mean, I think everyone has gotten really hype about Gravy Bones after seeing these cards. I just don't think anyone actually knows how to build the deck or what it's supposed to do, really, which is the interesting part, and I hope that that'll be revealed further, especially with the Armory deck that comes out, because I think that'll offer a lot of insight as well.
Yeah. What's your theory on his weapon?
Man, the fact that they haven't shown it yet is pretty absurd, because that is probably one of the most key things to tell what the deck is supposed to do.
Yeah,
right?
well, within the numbers, and they revealed the pre-release stuff, he's not going to have a weapon for limited.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's just going to have this compass.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it going to be an expansion slot just because it's that busted that it's not okay in limited? I think it's going to be in the Armory deck. I don't know if it'll be in the set as well, but I expect it to at least be in the Armory deck.
It'll probably be in the armory deck. It'd be interesting if it's an actual weapon that swings, unlike a board state deck like Illusionist, where it's usually something that applies to the allies. I really hope it doesn't give allies go again. That's what we assume it will do. Logically, that's probably what it will do. But we've seen in the past with Illusionists and things that do that, that's very, I don't want to say problematic, but it's integral to how the deck plays. So I'm just going to say, hopefully it's not too broken.
Yeah.
I'm calling it Blue Minaris, where it's like if there's a blue in your pit zone, all your allies get go again. So I hope it's not that.
It's funny, as we were talking about that, I was just reminded, I don't know if you remember when Storm of Sandakai was revealed.
Mm-hmm.
It was revealed, pretty sure we were at it was an RTN or ProQuest. It was during Starvo meta. And I remember it getting revealed, and I was just like, why? Why do all the dragons get go again for, not free, you just have to play a red card.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting something similar. I will hopefully be pleasantly surprised at it not being like that, but
yeah,
we'll see.
But, these new heroes in this new set, although it looks really busted, in my opinion, the power level seems to be extremely high. There are going to be a lot of interactions or things that will be in cards that will be brought back into the meta that I think you'll see to have a huge impact. Like, we're going to see Balance of Justice and Hold the Line skyrocket in price. Those cards are going to come back and be in a lot of sideboards. I think Warmongers is going to go even more expensive. Warmongers into all the pirates seems busted. I think that card is going to come into every sideboard yet again. It's going to destroy Ranger. It's going to destroy the mech. It might not hurt Gravy Bones as much because he could just take a setup turn or whatever, but I think Warmongers is going to be extremely powerful in the game yet again. And then on top of that, we have obviously Ninja to combat Gravy Bones with Katsu getting a buff, and then we also have Syndra still being one of the top decks. I think that they'll perform very well to combat whatever Gravy's trying to do. And then the Ranger, I would assume, is probably going to take over like a pseudo-assassin place with all the disruption and unblockable damage and thought seizing and whatnot. I'm going to hate that. Like, I just hate the fact that somebody will look at my hand and just take whatever card they want out of it. So, I mean, granted, it depends on the era, but on top of that, you get Command and Conquer.
Weren't you one of the first people to go all in on Azuri?
Yeah, but Uzuri didn't. Yeah, but Uzuri, you had to guess.
Oh, you have to guess.
You don't have to. You don't get to look at somebody's hand and just take it. You have to guess a color. It's so weak comparative to those kinds of things.
I mean, some of these harpoons you don't even get to guess. It's just look for a red card.
Yeah,
you don't even get to choose. You just have to hope that they have that color.
Exactly, and I would have to hope and guess with Shakedown. Surgical, you could look at their hand.
Yeah,
but that was fine. That Surgical is hard to hit though. It was an overpower for 13.
I mean, you got Isolate Swap into it.
Yeah, and then they D-react and you cry.
Should have played around it.
You could say the same, I guess, with Overpower for 13 or whatever, but I assumed, maybe we'll see resurgence of, like, because the other thing that's interesting about Overpower is, like, decks that run reacts are going to have a better play against it, right? So Warriors actually might have
lay down
more play.
Your full hand, block 12.
Assassin will obviously still be able to combat that relatively well. And then the newest hero that will be legal for Nats, Valda, might actually be quite an impressive counter to the meta. There's obviously a reason why they put her out during the ProQuest season and then also made her legal at Nats. So I wouldn't be surprised if Valda actually becomes one of the anti-meta heroes for the Pirates.
I don't know. I feel a little bit skeptical on that. If they print her at a level where, or if she's at a level where she's relevant now, and then have a full set of support coming in the mastery set, that seems scary. I think that's probably not the best way to do it.
That's fine. We'll Guardians haven't been at the top of the game for a long time. It's about time that it becomes, it's Flesh and Runeblade, Flesh and Illusionist, and it's Flesh and Guardians.
Yeah, I don't think she'll be quite good enough for Nats.
Oh, Flesh and Rangers. I forgot about that too.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll have Flesh and Rangers, and then we'll move to Flesh and Guardians, and we'll have the full cycle back in again. But I think at this point, we're going to be moving into this weekend is going to be the world premiere. So we're going to see all the rest of the cards this coming weekend. So we'll do another video about that once we get all the cards. And then following that will be the set release the week prior to that. And then we'll be opening and be extremely busy. And then Nats will be upon us. So really, there is not much more time before we're going to be playing with these cards and seeing them in competitive tournaments and seeing how impactful they actually are.
Yeah, it's going to be super busy for people testing. I am just realizing that the fact that they haven't really revealed all the expansion slot cards is actually really good. If those were all revealed like a week or so prior, it gives people playing older decks more time to test new cards. than the people who are waiting for World Premiere to see the new cards. It's the fact that everyone's going to have the full like card pool for their deck at the same time is probably better.
Well, we'll see what happens. I'm ready to see what new busted Rhinar spec they produced that doesn't do anything. Or we did get the one Brute expansion slot card.
Sea Legs?
Sea Legs, yeah. That card looks insane. I'm excited to see what that does for
It's going to be good in
Brutes.
Rhinar, right?
That'll be decent in Rhinar, I think.
Really good in KO.
It'll be insane in KO. It'll be really good in Levi. In Rhinar, I don't really know what it's going to do for Rhinar.
I think you just put it in every Brute, right?
Yeah, you'll play it in every Brute no matter what, but I'm super stoked to play that in KO. I had said, like, if Bonds got unbanned, I would just be a Katsu stan for sure, but you know my heart always goes to KO if I can, and so now that I got a buff where I can give Cast Bones go again whenever I want, oh my gosh, I mean, I might have to play KO. So we'll see if they produce any more Brute expansion slot cards, any other Warrior expansion slot cards. I'm curious, what do you guys are excited about? When this video comes out, you might already know all the expansion slot cards, but I was really upset about that Prism card. But I also just don't like Prism, generally speaking. But Herald of Second looks pretty darn good. So if all the Wizard one's really cool too, the anti-illusionist Wizard card. So if all the expansion slot cards are that good, I can't wait. And then of course the 4 Evo cards that they're going to put in for Teklo as well.
4 of those expansion slots are Evos.
Yeah. So we can already assume that 4 will be Evo cards. But beyond that, leave what you guys are excited for. Let us know what class you're going to be playing or what hero you're going to be playing. And are you happy with the bans and restrictor? Are you happy with the LL changes? I mean, I think generally speaking, this was a pretty good step in the right direction for what we have been seeing for the game. But we're about to go into Nats season, and that's going to be the Wild West. So we'll see how the game develops at that point, and most importantly, how LSS will respond to that. But in the meantime, this was the LLS podcast. We'll be back again next week, Lilith, and we'll have hopefully more information and more exciting things to talk about. But we'll see you guys then. All right, see ya.